Family, hear me when I say this. What you just came out of, what you just survived, what you just endured, it is finished. It is done. You cried, you wrestled, you prayed, you questioned, and you carried that weight for far too long. But the Lord is declaring over your life today, you'll never have to go through that again. That season is closed. That chapter is over. That storm has passed. Every now and then, life will take you through seasons that feel endless. The nights are long, the weight is heavy, and you wonder if this cycle will ever break. You keep waking up to the same battle, fighting the same thoughts, wrestling with the same struggles. And deep down, you start to whisper to yourself, is this just how it's always going to be? But I came to tell you, there comes a moment when God himself draws a line in the sand and says, enough, it's over. This chapter is closed. What you've been carrying was never meant to be permanent. That heartbreak was never designed to define your future. That betrayal was not meant to become your identity. That struggle was not ordained to be your lifelong companion. It may have lasted longer than you expected, but it was never eternal. And when God declares a thing finished, no power in the universe can reopen it. Think about it, even Jesus, when he hung on that cross, didn't stay there forever. He suffered, yes. He bled, yes. He went through the darkest hours of human agony, yes. But at the end, he opened his mouth and declared, it is finished. That's not just theology, that's a pattern for your life. If he could endure the cross and step into resurrection, then you can endure this storm and step into freedom. Some of you have been walking around carrying a load that's already been lifted. You're replaying scenes in your mind that God already canceled. You're bracing yourself for battles that have already been won. And the reason it feels so heavy is because you haven't given yourself permission to accept that it's over. But there is power in agreement. When you agree with God's verdict, when you stand in alignment with his word, you start to see that what once haunted you has no authority anymore. Maybe the heartbreak tore you apart. Maybe the loss left a hole in your chest. Maybe the betrayal cut you deeper than words could describe. But here you are, still standing, still breathing, still moving. That in itself is proof that what tried to destroy you didn't succeed. If it had the power to finish you, you wouldn't even be here right now. The fact that you survived is evidence that the worst is behind you. And here's the truth. Some lessons are only learned in the fire. Some strength only develops under pressure. Some wisdom only comes through tears. But once it has done its work in you, once it has shaped you, refined you, built you, it has no reason to stay. The storm accomplished what it needed to accomplish, and now it's moving on. You don't have to sit in the ashes forever. But I know what some of you are thinking, for what if it comes back? That's the fear that keeps so many stuck, waiting for the next shoe to drop. But let me remind you, when God closes a door, no one can open it. When he shuts down a season, it doesn't recycle. That pain was for a moment, but joy is forever. That valley had an expiration date, and you've already outlived it. You don't have to walk with your head down, waiting for the same pain to revisit you. That appointment has been canceled. That assignment has been terminated. So today is the day you stop identifying yourself by what you went through. You are not the divorce. You are not the diagnosis. You are not the failure. You are not the mistake. You are not the betrayal. You are more than the storm you survived. And the moment you embrace that truth, you'll find strength rising up in you like never before. I need you to declare this to yourself. It's done. It's over. I'm free. I will never go through that again. Say it until your spirit catches fire. Say it until your faith rises. Say it until every chain in your mind begins to break. Because the battle is finished, the burden is lifted, and the cycle is broken. You'll never have to go through that again. Why? One of the greatest battles we face after surviving something difficult is learning how to believe again. Because let's be honest, when you've been through a season of pain, disappointment, and setbacks, it leaves a residue. Even when the storm is over, even when God has already brought you through, your mind sometimes stays locked in survival mode. You wake up expecting another blow. You hesitate to celebrate because you're waiting for the next wave to knock you down. But let me remind you of something. When God says it's finished, that means it's not coming back to torment you. You've got to let your faith catch up to what God has already done. It's one thing to walk out of a battle physically, but it's another thing to walk out of it mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Some of us left Egypt, but Egypt is still running around in our thoughts. We're free, but we still live like slaves. We've been delivered, but we still flinch when the enemy whispers in our ear. That's why faith is essential. It shifts your focus from what was to what is and what shall be. Faith is not denial. Faith doesn't mean you pretend you weren't hurt, that the loss didn't happen, that the betrayal didn't sting. Faith acknowledges the reality of the pain, but it refuses to stay chained to it. Faith says, yes, it happened, but it didn't end me. Yes, it broke me, but it also built me. Yes, I cried, but I also grew stronger. Faith doesn't ignore the past, but it refuses to let the past dictate the future. The enemy's strategy has always been the same. If he can't stop you, he'll try to convince you to stop yourself. He knows he doesn't have the authority to cancel God's word over your life, but he'll whisper doubts until you cancel it with your own mouth. He'll make you second guess whether you're really free. He'll tempt you into rehearsing old battles so much that you can't recognize new blessings. But the moment you shift your perspective, the moment you decide, I'm not going to live in the shadow of what was, I'm going to step into what is, everything begins to change. Think about it. If you keep looking behind you, you'll miss what's in front of you. If you keep rehearsing the pain of yesterday, you'll forfeit the joy of today. That's why Paul said, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before, I press toward the mark. He understood that you can't press forward while chained to the past. You can't grab hold of the promise with one hand while clutching your pain with the other. At some point, you've got to decide which one you're going to hold. And here's the beauty of it. Faith is contagious. When you start walking with your head held high, when you start declaring over yourself, it's over, I'm free, I'm healed, your spirit begins to align with that truth. Your posture changes, your decisions change, your prayers change. Instead of begging God to deliver you from the same storm, you start thanking Him for bringing you out. Instead of living like a victim, you start living like a victor. And before you know it, people around you begin to see the glow of freedom on your life. There will always be voices trying to pull you back. Voices of doubt, voices of fear, voices of memory. But you have to learn how to silence them with your declaration of faith. Because faith is not just what you believe in your heart, it's what you confess with your mouth. And when your confession aligns with God's truth, it creates a shield around your mind that no lie of the enemy can penetrate. So today, make up your mind. Stop rehearsing what God has already released you from. Stop carrying the burden of battles that no longer belong to you. Start walking by faith into the joy, peace, and destiny that are already yours. Lift your voice, lift your spirit, lift your faith, and declare this over your life. It's finished. It's behind me. It's not coming back again because it's done. And you will never have to go through that again. Say, here's the 6 and 50 word expansion of key point 3 for the speech. It's done. Congratulations. You'll never have to go through that again. Sometimes the hardest part of moving forward is not the absence of pain, but the absence of control. You survived what you thought would kill you. You endured storms you never imagined. And now you find yourself standing on the other side. But the question that lingers is this: what do I do now? That uncertainty can feel just as heavy as the storm you just came out of. And yet, this is exactly where God does His greatest work. He doesn't just bring you out, He brings you into something new. You see, survival is about holding on, but thriving is about letting go. And that's where so many of us struggle. We know how to fight, we know how to endure, we know how to keep our head above water. But when it's time to rest, when it's time to rebuild, when it's time to receive, we don't know what to do because rest feels unfamiliar. Peace feels foreign. Abundance feels strange when all you've known is lack. But just because it feels unfamiliar doesn't mean it isn't yours. The problem is we sometimes confuse familiarity with safety. We think because we've learned how to live in pain, that pain is all there will ever be. We think because we've gotten used to disappointment, that disappointment is all we can expect. But God is trying to break that cycle in your life. He's saying, I've closed that chapter. I've ended that season. I've shut that door. Stop knocking on it. Let me tell you something. When God closes a door, it's not rejection. It's redirection. He's not leaving you stranded. He's steering you toward something better, but you'll miss it if you keep staring at the door he already locked. Some of you are crying over what left when God has already placed something new in your path. You're grieving the ending of one chapter, but the author has already written the next. This is why trust is so critical. Trust is deeper than faith. Faith says, I believe God can. Trust says, even if I don't understand it, I believe God will. Trust is what carries you through the seasons when nothing makes sense. Trust is what keeps you standing when your emotions are pulling you in every direction. Trust is what anchors you when your past tries to whisper that you'll never change, that you'll never heal, that you'll never be more than what you've been. And I need you to understand, this is not just about your comfort. This is about your calling. The reason the enemy fought you so hard is because he saw the assignment on your life. He knew that once you came through this storm, you would be unstoppable. He knew that once you realized you survived, you would begin to walk in power. That's why he tried to break you. That's why he tried to bury you. But what he didn't realize is that God was using the storm to prepare you. The very thing that was meant to destroy you has developed you. The same waves that tried to drown you have pushed you into deeper waters. Now hear me. The evidence that it's truly over is not just that you made it out, but that you don't have to go back. The Red Sea didn't just part for Israel to cross, it closed so their enemies couldn't follow. And that's what God is doing in your life right now. He's closing off the path to your past so you can't slip back into what you've been delivered from. He's making sure that those same enemies, those same chains, those same strongholds will never have power over you again. So instead of asking, why did I go through that? Start asking, what did it teach me? Instead of rehearsing the pain, start rehearsing the purpose. Instead of holding on to the storm, hold on to the strength you gained because of it. Because when you shift your focus, you'll start to see that you didn't just come out. You came out stronger, wiser, more equipped for the journey ahead. Don't let the weight of yesterday keep you from the joy of today. Don't let the fear of what was steal the promise of what is. This is your moment to trust God fully, to release what's behind you, and to walk boldly into what's ahead. Lift your head, lift your spirit, and remember this. You didn't just survive, you graduated, and because of that, you'll never have to go through that again. And here's the 60-50 word expansion of key point 4 for the speech. It's done! Congratulations, you'll never have to go through that again. One of the greatest challenges after you've come through a painful season is learning how to embrace joy again. For so long, you've been conditioned to expect the worst, to brace yourself for disappointment, to live with a kind of guarded heart. And I get it. When you've been wounded, when you've been betrayed, when you've been let down, it feels safer to prepare for pain than to open yourself up to joy. But let me tell you, Joy is not a luxury, it's a promise. And if you're going to step into the fullness of this new season, you have to be willing to receive what God has prepared for you. The hardest thing for many of us is to stop rehearsing the pain. We replay the arguments. We revisit the betrayal. We relive the trauma. And every time we do, it's like we're breathing life back into something that God already buried. You cannot heal if you keep feeding the very thing that hurt you. You cannot walk into joy if you keep clinging to sorrow. The old chapter is closed, the ink has dried, and the author has moved on. Why are you still trying to rewrite what he already finished? This is where forgiveness comes in, not because the person deserves it, but because you deserve to be free. Forgiveness is not excusing what they did, it's refusing to let what they did keep controlling you. It's cutting the cord that ties you to yesterday so you can walk into tomorrow unchained. And some of you need to release not just others, but yourself. You've been blaming yourself, shaming yourself, carrying guilt that God already washed away. Stop punishing yourself for what you've already survived. Grace has covered you. Mercy has held you. Love has carried you. It's time to let it go. Now here's the thing. Stepping into joy requires intentionality. You can't wait until everything is perfect. You can't wait until every problem is solved. You can't wait until life finally feels easy. Joy is a decision you make in the middle of imperfection. Joy says, I refuse to let what I went through define what I'm stepping into. Joy says, I will laugh again, I will love again, I will live again. And I know someone here is thinking, but what if I open myself up again and I get hurt again? Let me tell you this, life will always have challenges, but there is a difference between pain with purpose and pain without it. The storms you went through before were not wasted. They built you, they toughened you, they sharpened you. So even if trials come again, you won't crumble like you did before. You are stronger now, wiser now, and more rooted now. You can't be taken out by the same storm twice because you've already learned how to stand in the rain. And here's what I need you to hear. Joy is spiritual warfare. When the enemy has tried to destroy you, your laughter is a weapon. When depression thought it had you, your smile is a victory shout. When anxiety told you it was over, your peace is proof that God still reigns. Don't underestimate what it means to walk in joy. Joy announces to every demon in hell that what they tried didn't work. Joy testifies that the storm failed, the weapon misfired, and the plan backfired. So don't wait, begin now. Rejoice in small ways. Thank God for breath in your lungs. Thank Him for strength in your body. Celebrate little victories. Smile in moments where you used to cry. Laugh in places where you used to mourn. Every act of joy is a declaration that it's truly over and that you're free to live again. I dare you to let joy rise in your heart. I dare you to embrace it, to protect it, to nurture it. Because joy is not just a feeling, it's your evidence. It's your proof that it's done. You'll never have to go through that again. Here's the 650 word expansion of key point 5 for the speech, it's done. Congratulations, you'll never have to go through that again. When God brings you out of something, He doesn't just bring you out to leave you empty-handed. No, He brings you out with increase, with wisdom, with a testimony, and with a new level of authority. The struggle you endured wasn't just about what you lost. It was about what you gained in the process. Because let me tell you, pain is expensive. Every tear you cried, every night you couldn't sleep, every season of silence when it felt like heaven was ignoring you, it all has value. And God doesn't waste value. He redeems it. He multiplies it. He uses it to set you up for where you're going. Now, here's the part that's going to stretch you. You're not just healed so you can be happy. You're healed so you can be helpful. You're not just delivered so you can dance. You're delivered so you can deliver others. Somebody needs what you carry. Somebody needs the wisdom that only suffering taught you. Somebody needs the compassion that only pain carved into your heart. You didn't go through what you went through for nothing. You went through it so you could become a voice, a light, a guide for somebody else who feels like they'll never make it out. Think about it. Who better to comfort a broken heart than somebody who knows what it's like to cry in the middle of the night? Who better to encourage someone battling depression than someone who has stared down the darkness and lived to tell the story? Who better to mentor the next generation than someone who had to crawl their way through rejection, through betrayal, through loss, and still came out standing? You're not a victim. You're evidence. You are living proof that the worst thing didn't win. And I know some of you don't feel ready. You're thinking, I'm still picking up the pieces. I don't have it all together yet. Let me remind you, the oil flows from the cracks. It's not your perfection that makes you powerful. It's your brokenness that makes you real. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with scars. And your scars don't disqualify you. They verify you. They prove that you've been through something, that you survived something, that you overcame something. Here's what you've got to realize: your testimony is somebody else's survival kit. The words that come out of your mouth, the encouragement you release, the prayers you pray, the advice you share, it could be the very thing that keeps somebody else from giving up. Don't you dare hide your story because it's messy. Don't you dare cover your scars because they make you self-conscious. Those scars are sacred. They're the markers of grace. They're the receipts that show God did exactly what He promised. He brought you through. And when you begin to walk in that kind of authority, you won't just encourage others. You'll intimidate the enemy, because he knows that a silent survivor is one thing, but a speaking survivor is dangerous. If you keep quiet, your breakthrough stays personal. But if you open your mouth, your breakthrough becomes generational. If you share what God has done for you, somebody else will catch faith. Somebody else will believe again. Somebody else will refuse to quit. That's why the enemy tried so hard to break you, because he knew if you ever stood back up and spoke, you would shift atmospheres and change lives. So don't just celebrate your freedom, use it. Don't just enjoy your healing, multiply it. You've been equipped, you've been trained, you've been prepared by the very things that almost destroyed you. And now you are walking into a season where your life itself becomes a message. You won't even have to explain it. People will see the difference. They'll feel the difference. They'll be inspired just by the way you carry yourself. I came to tell you tonight, don't hide your story. Don't downplay your journey, and don't minimize your testimony. This is your evidence. This is your weapon. This is your gift. God didn't bring you out just for you. He brought you out for the ones who are watching, for the ones who are coming after you, for the ones who need to know that it's possible. And the same God who finished it for you is able to finish it for them. You've survived, you've conquered, you've been restored, and now it's time to shine. Somebody else is depending on the light you carry. Somebody else is waiting on the sound of your voice. And somebody else's breakthrough is about to be unlocked because you dared to declare, it's done. Here's the 6 of 50 word expansion of key point. 6 for the speech, it's done. Congratulations, you'll never have to go through that again. When God says it's done, he's not suggesting, he's declaring. That means the cycle has been broken, the curse has been canceled, the chains have been shattered, and the door that used to trap you has been sealed shut. You may still hear the echoes of the past trying to call your name, but that doesn't mean you belong there anymore. It's like when Israel crossed the Red Sea, the waters closed behind them. Pharaoh tried to follow, but God drowned him. And I came to tell you, there are some enemies you will never see again, not because you fought them harder, not because you became stronger, but because God said, this time it's finished. And here's the beauty of it. You don't have to keep looking over your shoulder. You don't have to live waiting for the other shoe to drop. You don't have to brace yourself for relapse, setback, or defeat. When God finishes a thing, it's not fragile. It doesn't need constant repair. He finishes it in such a way that even when the devil tries to resurrect it, it has no life left. The grave clothes are empty. The addiction is broken. The depression is stripped of its grip. The rejection that used to torment you has no voice left. It's not just delayed, it's destroyed. But you have to step into that truth, because the hardest part sometimes is not what God has done. It's believing that he really did it. Some of you are free but still acting bound. Some of you are delivered but still talking like a prisoner. Some of you are healed but still carrying the limp of old wounds. You've been released, but your mind hasn't caught up with your miracle. That's why the Bible tells us to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. If you keep thinking like the old you, you'll sabotage the new season God has already established. Listen, God is not going to keep reopening doors He already closed just to prove to you that you're free. At some point, you've got to walk in it. At some point, you've got to talk like it. At some point, you've got to stand flat-footed in front of the enemy and say, that season is over. That chapter is closed. That's not who I am anymore. When you say that with authority, everything around you starts to align with heaven's declaration. Doors open that were once locked. Opportunities flow where there used to be drought. Peace fills spaces that were once chaotic because heaven backs up the one who believes. And let me tell you something. You don't have to explain it to everybody. Not everybody will understand how you survived. Not everybody will celebrate what you overcame. Some people are so used to the old you that they'll try to keep pulling you back. But you don't owe anybody an explanation. The evidence is in your life. The evidence is in your freedom. The evidence is in your joy. People don't have to agree with it for it to be real. What God finished doesn't require their approval. This is why you've got to stop rehearsing old battles. Stop giving CPR to what God declared dead. Stop writing eulogies for seasons that have already been buried. And stop letting the devil whisper lies into your spirit that it's only a matter of time before you fall again. That's not your story anymore. Your new chapter has begun. Your future is not tied to your failures. Your destiny is not chained to your mistakes. When God says it's done, you don't need to doubt. You need to dance. You don't need to fear. You need to flourish. So hear me tonight. You will never have to go through that again. The weight has been lifted. The storm has passed. The burden has been broken. And now your assignment is to step boldly into what's next, because the same God who closed that door has already opened another one. You've got new territory to claim, new joy to walk in, new peace to experience, and new power to release. Don't waste another second mourning what's behind you. Celebrate what's in front of you. And when you do, you'll discover the sweetest truth of all. You don't just survive storms, you outgrow them. You don't just escape battles, you graduate from them. You don't just endure seasons, you evolve because of them. And once God graduates you, there is no repeating the class. It's done, it's finished, it's sealed, and you'll never have to go through that again.